Hello, my name is Julian Zarens, and I will be reporting on the country of Pakistan for my fieldwork presentation for this semester. And as you can see, based off the subtitle, Pakistan is currently located within the other world, quote unquote, from the text we've been reading throughout the semester. So with that, I would like to begin my presentation. Um, so for part of our presentation, we are going to basically suggest the way or our proposals for correcting and bettering our particular nation, which mine happens to be Pakistan. So I have dubbed my proposal the Zarens modernization proposal. Now, I'm not sure if you're a history buff or not, but I don't want to piggyback or copy um, Deng Xiaoping's version of the modernization, which refers to China in 1978. But I did use some similar um, pillars, so to speak, in that regard, and I'll touch base on them real quickly. Human rights, education, national defense and security, and industry are the four main areas I'm looking to help improve in Pakistan, which will hopefully lead to a better and more self-sufficient Pakistan. But before I dive more deeply into my proposals, I think we should touch base on where they stand at the moment. Um, Regarding human rights, for example, Pakistan has terrible human rights, in large part due to their non-secular beliefs that really influence the laws and legislation that govern Pakistan. Sharia law or blasphemy laws are commonplace. There's many examples of how these laws have been enforced. One in particular, we can talk about Saiwan Mesa, who was sentenced to death for just simply saying a derogatory comment about Muhammad. So, needless to say, there is no freedom of religion or speech in Pakistan. There's also the protection of the Pakistan Act, and this is a counter-terrorism legislation which more or less lets the Pakistan government invade and abuse any Pakistani citizen they feel is a threat to either the country or just simply their religious beliefs. This act has actually even kind of felt or rolled into their state legislation or governing legislation with how the high courts rule. Um, Basically, the onus of proof falls on the accused victim rather than defendant, and that's obviously the opposite of what we have here in the United States. And I alluded to earlier, but there is extreme religious bias in Pakistan. Um, the vast majority of the population is comprised of the Sunni Muslim sect. However, there are other sects and religions in Pakistan, one being Shiites, and they are the other major sect of Islam. And one example in particular, there was a Lashkar-e Jhangvi attack in which Shia Muslims were attacked by the Sunni Muslims, and there was no prosecution charges brought forth towards any of the Sunni Muslims. As I alluded to earlier regarding the Saiwan Masih sentencing for the Muhammad derogatory comments, um, in because of a result of those comments, uh, a large portion of the Sunni Muslim population in Pakistan actually attacked a Christian village in Pakistan, and there were no repercussions from that either. So that just kind of shows you, from religious side of things, there's little in the way of human rights. to add on to the human rights issues in Pakistan, women, for example, are severely put at a disadvantage, to say the least. They constantly have a fear of rape, for one. And to top that off, not only do they have the fear for rape, but due to the court system in Pakistan, which follows the HUD proof, the onus is on the rape victim to prove that she was raped to a court of 4 Muslim men. So obviously, with how the system's set up, there's been many times where not only has the accused defendant or the man who raped the woman got off, but the woman then who accused the man of raping was then charged with adultery, and this would either result in imprisonment or whipping, or even stoning in some instances. Honor killings are also still commonplace in Pakistan. This occurs with women kind of disobeying the traditional conservative Muslim tradition of asking for permission for being married. And because of this, there are times when the women are simply just killed because of it. Acid attacks are still occurring at a fairly common, they're still commonplace within Pakistan, and this can simply arise due to the jealousy men might have for women. Maybe she's more intelligent, maybe she has more money, but either way, men might find envy in a woman's position in Pakistan, and they'll simply throw acid on her to make themselves, their presence known. And lastly, often women are forced to marry someone without their consent, and a lot of this kind of dives down into the traditional values that are still incorporated in Pakistan and within Islam. To continue on to the next pillar, education. 5.1 million children are not enrolled in school in Pakistan, which accounts for the second highest amount in the world. Two-thirds are represented by girls alone. Literacy is still a very big issue in Pakistan, with 49.5 million adults being illiterate, and again, two-thirds of that are women. And for as bad as the education and literacy rates are in Pakistan, the government has actually been reducing the amount of money they've been spending towards education. My third pillar is in regards to national defense and security. Pakistan has had a long-going external conflict with several different countries that it borders. I'll start with India. There's been 3 full-scale wars since 1947 pertaining to India and Pakistan, and it actually involves this land or territories dispute over Kashmir. And not to mention there's a really strong religious opposition between the two nations as well, with India obviously being Hindu and Pakistan being Muslim. However, the external conflicts don't stop there. Pakistan has a dispute with Afghanistan as well over the Pashtun territory, which kind of currently goes between both Afghanistan and Pakistan. And there's been no real definitive answer to resolving this issue. And lastly, there is a dispute over the Balkistan territory between Iran and Pakistan as well. So, needless to say, there's been huge conflicts, military conflicts, in essence, on every border for Pakistan since they've got their independence in 1948. But Pakistan's not limited to external conflicts, of course. They have internal conflicts as well. Um, the most the biggest driver behind their internal conflicts deal with religion. Um, as I said earlier, approximately 85% of the population is comprised of Sunni Muslims. However, for the remaining 15%, it's scattered between Shia Muslims. There's Christians, Hindus, and Jews as well. So, needless to say, there's a fundamental and difference when it comes to these different religious sects comprising the Muslim population or the Pakistani population. And these have been the main drivers that have caused such strife within Pakistan over the last half century. Now, if we move on to the next pillar, talk about the economy. Agriculture actually accounts for 1/5 of their output, but 2/5 of the employment. It should be noted, though, that Pakistan's climate isn't very conducive to agriculture, which kind of is a conundrum because it more or less is limited in the amount they can actually export due to it, just based on inherited limitations within their climate. But with that said, their largest output is textiles, and that kind of makes up most of their export earnings. But even with textile exports and agricultural exports, their GDP still is in the middle of the pack, ranking 75th out of 182 per the IMF. Now, when you factor in the, Pakistan's population is up 6th in the world, that's not a very, their ranking is very low for where they have in comparison to the amount of human capital available. Inflation has also been an issue with Pakistan. Its inflation index or inflation rate ranks 101 out of 224 per the CIA World Factbook. Again, middle of the road. And their economic freedom is in the latter half of the world, ranking 93rd out of 157. So, with that just said, the Pakistani rupee has depreciated more than 40% since 2007. And with all these factors, they still have been receiving foreign aid from the United States, China, the EU, and the IMF, to name a few examples. And this has resulted in over $100 billion worth of foreign aid since 1948, which is when Pakistan, again, gained their independence. So we touched on human rights, the education issue within Pakistan. We touched based on the national defense security issues as well, and lastly the economy. So this is where the Zarin's modernization proposal comes forth, which is basically how I believe we can fix Pakistan and bring them from the old world to the new. And it starts with human rights. I obviously listed the human rights issues facing Pakistan right now, and Pakistan has to become a secular government with no gender bias. There needs to be equality for both women and men, and for any person, no matter what their religion is. And when that's finally resolved, it will have increased opportunities for all. And that kind of segues to then education. When there's more increased opportunities for education, over time, you'll have a working population that's more educated. That'll improve quality of life, it'll reduce poverty, and in turn, it'll basically segue to my next point, which is an increased sense of security. When you have an educated population where everyone's equal, that will improve nationalism, and it will also decrease the internal conflicts that have been a constant mainstream in their society since their independence. With all these three factors driving up to the last point, which is industry. So we have an increased working base because they're now educated. We have a safer population because there's less internal conflict and improved nationalism. And since everyone's smarter and everyone's is more equality, these foreign investments and domestic investments that have been hesitant to go into Pakistan due to all these conflicts and poverty issues, they will now enter the Pakistan economy, which will increase wealth for the Pakistan citizens, but also increase the Pakistan GDP, which is basically the end goal is an improved Pakistan, which will more or less bring economic prosperity, social, cultural vibrancies, and more integrity to Pakistan. So these are the issues that Pakistan really should address, and in my belief, I think there is a great opportunity to do this going forward. And I just to show my face too. I believe that if they follow the Zaren's proposal, Pakistan has a chance to leave the other world and join the new world with better human rights, a smarter population, an equal population, and a better economy. Thank you.